Okay, everybody, I know everybody gets it. Yeah. Come on, everybody. Do you like good music? Yeah, yeah. Sweet soul music. Yeah, yeah. Just long as it's swinging. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We out here on the floor, y'all. Yeah, yeah.
Today on Rambling Sound, very proud to say we've got one of the Magnificent Men, the founder of the Magnificent Men. In my opinion, the best blue-eyed soul group to ever put anything down on wax. Bob Puff Angelucci is the founder of the group and joining us today. Bob, thank you very much for your time. I'm looking forward to this interview, as I think most of our readers are as well.
Well, so am I. Thank you for having me.
Puff, where did that come from?
That came from a high school buddy of mine, Keith Harden, who was in one of my first groups, and he had named me Puff. I was kind of heavy then, and my cheeks were kind of puffy.
Let's start from the beginning. There were two groups. There were the Endells, that was your group, and then there were the Del Chords that included Dave Bupp and Buddy King. How did that come together?
Just one thing led to another. Buddy had left the Del Chords, and two of the other Del Chords, I think, got drafted. And four of the guys in the Endells were going off to college, so I lost people there. And I was looking to put together, I had just got out of Harrisburg Area Community College, Tom Payne and myself, and I was looking for a situation where I wanted to go on the road, find some people who wanted to make a living out of it, because I had no visible means of employment. So I knew Buddy was on the loose because he had left the Del Chords, and we had been playing a little place in Harrisburg. It was called the Uptown Barn. And Buddy came in one night and heard us, and I asked him to sit in with us because we knew some of the stuff that he used to do when he was in the Del Chords. And one thing led to another. And before too long, the Del Chords actually broke up, and that's when I approached Dave Bupp about singing with us. And so I couldn't take, the Endells was a 10-piece band, and not anybody was really available to go on the road except the few guys that were left after the four guys that were in the Endells left. So I kind of put together a mishmash of vocalists and musicians, and came up to the seven guys in the Magnificent Men. And at that time, we were called the Magnificent Seven when we first formed. But when we went up to New York City, we found out there were about 10 groups up there called the Magnificent Seven. And subsequent to that, our name was changed to the Magnificent Men.
Some of the places that you were playing back in the day were black clubs. I mean, you did a lot of the Chitlin circuit. You did the Uptown Theater. You did the Apollo. And it was a time when there was a little bit of racial strife going on in this country. One, how did you get in there? And two, what was the reaction?
Well, how we got in there, most of our major work was booked out of William Morris in New York City. And Peace of Mind had been, in Philadelphia, had been like #1 in Philadelphia for about 8 weeks. And on both the top pop 40 charts and also on the R&B charts. And we got booked into the Uptown Theater. And when we got there, the manager of the Uptown Theater said, he said, I introduced myself, and he said, oh, I told him, I said, I'm with the Magnificent Men. He said, oh, okay. He said, are you their manager? I said, no. He said, are you their road agent? I said, no. I said, I'm the drummer and the leader of the group. He said, oh, okay. He said, I just wasn't sure. He said, but he said, Magnificent Men are brothers. And I said, no. I said, no, we're not. And he said, well, I don't know. He said, right now, he said, the band we're bringing in here, brothers, they have a song called Peace of Mind. And I said, yeah, that's us. We're on Capitol Records. So he was kind of concerned about that because he didn't know that we were, white artists. And Chitlin Circuit was basically set up for, black entertainers to play for black audiences in those days. And so that's how that came about. He was kind of skeptical about it, and he contacted two different people. He contacted Jerry Blavat, because Jerry Blavat knew, I told him we did Jerry Blavat's show, his TV show, and so forth. And then he contacted our agency, William Morris, and they verified who we were. He was kind of taken back, you know. He said, well, he said, how I'm going to do this? He said, just, you know, he said, I'll play your contract because it's too late to cancel. He said, but, you know, you know, I told him, I said, well, we're a self-contained band. He said, well, we have a house band here at backs up all the yards. So I said, no, we're a 7-piece combination vocal and you know, band. We play our own stuff. And, you know, he said, well, usually what happens, he said, you know, the vocalists go out and the house band backs them up. They come out on the side from the curtains. He said, I'm going to have to, you know, I'm going to have to curtain you guys, put the curtain down since you're self-contained like that. So he did, and when the curtain went up before we started playing, and the audience saw us, everybody went, it took, like, everybody gasped, you know. But when we started playing, that's where everything began for us on the Chitlin circuit.
Well, when you went back to the Uptown, didn't you, to do the live album?
Yeah, we did the live album then when we went back to the Uptown Theater. Yeah, we did the live album there. I wasn't crazy about the reproduction of it. In those days, I don't know, the technical business wasn't all that it could have been as far as live recordings.
You mean the quality?
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about the quality of it, but for some reason or another, that's the one that most people liked.
I'm going to say you're a perfectionist, Bob. That's a terrific live album. I haven't met anybody that doesn't think it's one of the greatest live albums ever recorded. All right, speaking of Capitol Records, you did what, three albums for them?
It did 3 albums. Magnificent Men Volume 1. Volume 2 was Magnificent Men Live. And then Volume 3 was The World of Soul.
Right.
And then our 4th album was actually on Mercury Records, and that was called Better Than a 10-Cent Movie, which was a transitional album.
Right. I guess the last album you did for Capitol, to me, Capitol seemed to be trying to push you guys in a different style, a different sound, and I just thought that they should have kept you where you were. But again, music was changing. I guess maybe that's what happened.
Yeah, well, it wasn't really the last album on Capitol World Soul. It was still pretty much what we did. It was the 4th album on Mercury that was different, and that was, you know, that was a different sound, different. We were kind of, I don't know, with what was happening in the music industry. I always call it a transition album because it was more of a progressive R&B album rather opposed to the pure R&B that we had done on the first 3 albums.
Mm-hmm. What was life on the road when you were doing the Chitlin circuit and playing the black theaters? Again, as I said at the outset, there was so much racial strife going on at the time. What was it like? How was the travel like, and how were you received and treated?
We were treated very well. I mean, we were treated great. I mean, one of the things that's odd about it, when we first started out, before we went on the road for a year up here, there was a place called the Raven Teen Club, and we were the house band there. And anybody and everybody that was in, you know, who was known in rhythm and blues at that time, we backed up. So consequently, the artists knew us, but the theater owners didn't know us at all. But so it kind of all worked out to get, you know, as far as that goes. But no, we were treated exceptionally well. I have to tell you, I mean, people were just so gracious, and I mean, it was so flattering because all the people we idoled and all the people whose music we listened to, suddenly we were there performing with them on stage, and you know, getting to know them and so forth. It's an extraordinary experience, and you know, it just. We felt very, very honored to work with people that we idolized. You know, it's incredible.
The Apollo Theater. Just saying that almost it gives me goosebumps. I mean, there's such history in that theater. You guys not only played it, but you were the first white group to headline. Not the first white group to perform there, but the first white group to headline there.
That is correct.
Amazing.
It is amazing. It was hard to believe, but it happened.
Talk about the James Brown story.
The James Brown story came about, usually in your theaters you did, I think you did 3 shows a day during the week, and on the weekends you did 5 shows, and on a Saturday. But they had a 12 midnight show, which was the biggest show at the Apollo Theater, 12 midnight on Saturday nights. And James Brown came in to see us in the late afternoon show, which was around 5 o'clock. He said, I wanted to see what all the fuss is about. I've been hearing about you guys. So he heard us. We did our piece. And after the 5 o'clock show was done, he came back and said, he wanted to find out if he'd be able to do something with us. So the manager from the Apollo and everything, and James and I, we all spoke and said, yeah, we'd love to do something. He said, do you know any of my material? And I said, well, we know you're live at the Apollo Theater album. We do the songs on that. You just have to tell me, what you want to do, And so, I mean, I think he wanted the side of the album that had Please, Please, Please on it. So that's the side we played. And for some unknown reason, it went over great because we didn't even make any mistakes. It just timing was on. Every break was there. Every lick, every nuance of what was being played because we had played it from time to time, and it was in the right key. And now we didn't have a cape with us when he did Please, 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 and went down on his knees. So Tom Payne, the sax player, took off his coat and put his jacket over James' shoulder and so forth, But it was absolutely incredible. The audience went crazy. They didn't sit down from the time we started until we got off stage with James Brown. And afterwards, he had told us, he said, wherever I go on your routing sheet, he said, if you're coming in there, he said, they will know you. He said, I'm going to tell you and tell everybody about you. And he did, because wherever we went subsequent to that, people knew about us. He really talked us up. I mean, it was great to hear that, but sometimes that can be good and bad, because maybe you have a good night or maybe you have a bad night, and they might think, they're not that good, as great as everybody thinks they are. But
great memory.
Everybody says that we were, but that was kind of how that all went down, and he did, because from place to place that we went where he was in front of us, they certainly got an earful from him, which was even, that's unbelievable. Well, the chances of somebody doing that in their musical career, extraordinary.
Absolutely, a great memory, a great opportunity.
And it was great, the fact that he was so complimentary about it, and I just, because I always listened to James Brown stuff early on when I was a young kid. He was just so, he was everything he did is just so raw, it's just so powerful to me. And so, it was natural for us to start playing stuff. Plus, the Delcords played that stuff, the Endells played that stuff, and in Harrisburg and York and Lancaster areas were always, they always were an R&B market, that was what most people were listening to in those days. They weren't big on Beach Boys stuff, no offense or anything like that.
Right.
It's just that the style music that was big in central Pennsylvania was, your R&B stuff.
How close were you to signing with Motown?
Well, we had some discussions about it, but for whatever reason, our management firm wasn't really particularly crazy about it. But
was that a mistake? If you had to do it again?
I wanted to sign with them personally, but that to me, I felt that we had an opportunity there because we, after we left Capitol, we were looking for another label, and Mercury was available, but Motown was searching, and certainly the potential was there, but for whatever reason, it didn't work out. But to me, I felt that was a missed opportunity, to be honest with you.
There's a story that one of you met with Smokey Robinson.
Yeah, that was me.
That was you, yeah. So you had a meeting with him, and he tried to talk you into signing.
Well, he took me out to dinner. He said, "You like steak?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I know a great place out in City Line Avenue in Philadelphia." When we were playing at the Uptown Theater. So he said, "I'd like to talk to you about some things." So we had some discussion at that point, and that was kind of how it went. But for whatever reason, it didn't work out. But to me, I just felt that was a regrettable decision. I personally and professionally felt that was something we should have at least tried, to see how it would go. because at that time they were the hottest label in the country.
No question.
And I thought the world of Smokey. I mean, he was an ace. Him and Bobby Rogers from that group. It's just those guys. They were all great. I mean, everybody we worked with. I can't tell you how great it was. Working with these guys and the women groups as far as that goes too. The same thing. Everybody that we backed up over the years, and it's like just you're sitting around between shows, and talking and everything, discussion. That just I can't explain it. That these people were there, people that we listened to for years and idolized, and now we're performing with them. How flattering is that? I mean, because we never thought we were anything that special. I mean, we didn't really imitate groups. We played R&B because we loved R&B, and it was our interpretation of R&B, of what we liked and loved. But it was just an extraordinary experience with the theaters, and there were some other some black clubs that were part of that Chitlin circuit. But I don't know. Never had a problem. If anything, they were very protective of us. But we just had a good time. We enjoyed what we were doing, and that's kind of how it all went as far as Chitlin circuit. We did 4 different circuits. We did Chitlin circuit. We did USO circuits, where your big military clubs, because we had a big following from the military during that time, and then we did the college concert circuits, which was probably the one that was the most arduous because they were all one-nighters, and then we did the nightclub circuits, and they were your better clubs, and that all culminated at Caesar's Palace, as far as the nightclub, because that was the super nightclub of nightclubs. It wasn't even a nightclub; it's just a casino.
Is there one memory from those days, whether it be at one of those great theaters or on the road, or that stands out that just keeps coming back in your memory bank?
Oh my! I don't know. To me, it would have to be probably would have been backing up James Brown. That was one of them. I mean, there were numerous memories.
Yeah, it's pretty tough to top that.
Too many to recall at this point, but we had some great experience. I mean, we met people, all different musicians, not just musicians in the R&B bag, but different musicians, different vocalists, movie stars. It's bizarre to me. I can't even explain some of the people that we've met in time. We had both of our managers are deceased now, Frankie C. and Ron Gitman. And Frankie C. was a guy that I always thought, boy, he talks a lot. But I come to realize that over the years, by virtue of people he introduced me to, it was incredible, because if he said he knew somebody, he knew him. One evening after we had finished recording it over at Capitol Records at 46th and 7th Avenue in New York City. And later that evening, I'm walking up Broadway because I'm going to go get something to eat. And our one manager, Frankie C.'s walking down towards me, down Broadway. And the closer he gets, this guy he's with looks like Tom Jones. And so we get there, and it's Tom Jones. Frankie says, Bobby, this is Tom Jones. I just signed his visa to work in this country. So he introduced us and so forth. And at that time, Tom Jones' record had broke. It's not unusual and so forth. So, but he was coming over here for his first American appearance.
Amazing.
And so that was kind of
great stories. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we did a show too, and I'm trying to think what the theater was in New York City. It was a combination of. I think it was something like the American Freedom Show or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, because we did a couple shows like that. We did one in Philly at the Arena, and we did one in New York. And that had different entertainers on it who were vocalists and movie stars and so forth. And it's like, he's introducing me to these people, and they're talking to him like they've known him for 20 years. And I'm thinking, I'll never call him... I'll never call him out for for telling me stories, you know, 'cause it was true.
What happened to the group? How did it break up? And was it just the music changed? I know a lot of the groups that were doing the kind of music you were doing. The music changed. The British invasion came in, and all our music, the doo wop, a lot of the good soul music just went away.
Yeah, I can tell you, my observation was that there were a lot of things that were changing. We happened to be, when we started, most of the groups that were out during that time in the middle 60s, they were all rhythm section groups. But we were self-contained. We had horns, we had rhythm, we had vocals, we had everything. It was one package, 7 people in that package. And, you know, we were told from numerous groups from time to time that, you know, we were the influence for a lot of the progressive rock and horn groups. Not that they played our style or anything, just that with putting together self-contained.
With the elements, yeah.
Like that. You know, but some of the ideas started changing. There were a lot of internal polarization because people were getting tempted to want to do this and wanting to do that. I felt it was okay to be somewhat progressive, but I didn't want to get outside of the main bag of what we did. That's what we were known for, and that's what our following was established from. So I felt that, don't stray too far from the middle from what you do. You know, you can update it, and you know, but I don't know. That's what we had to be careful of, and it just by the end, as far as with all the originals, by 1970, it was, you know, it was over. Now, the Magnificent Men continued for a couple years, but the makeup of the band changed. It still had some original members, Jim Seville and Tom Payne and Bill Richter and Buddy King. But then, you know, a different guitar player, R.B. Sharp's guitar player, and Kirk Pruner was the drummer, because Kirk took my place when I left. And they played for about another 2 years, but what had occurred is they changed the bag. They weren't playing classic rhythm and blues anymore. It was more of progressive rock. It was great stuff, very sophisticated stuff, you know, stuff like Yes and so forth. But when people came to see them, you know, they really got upset. They were disappointed. They said, "That's not the Magnificent Men." You know?
Yeah.
You know, they don't sound alike, they don't look alike, you know, whatever. And I mean, as I said, it was excellent musicianship, excellent choice of music, but it just wasn't what you know, followers of the Magnificent Men were used to seeing, and that kind of I don't know, gotten away. Not that it was a bad thing; it was a good effort on everybody's part, but just wasn't acceptable to the people that the following that we created for the past 5 years prior to that.
Bob, was that the time that Stan Ziska, the Del Satins, did some work for you? I didn't know that, and I ran into Stan a while back, and then
Stan,
he wrote me a letter.
Stan. Yep. Stan was a great guy. I haven't talked to him in ages, but you know, we recently did a concert with Brooklyn Bridge, and some of the guys in the Brooklyn Bridge know Stan, and the one guy still sings with him, and they brought his picture up on the phone. He tried to call him when we were there backstage, but he wasn't available. But yeah, Stan was a good guy. That was the guy that came with us. He replaced Dave Buff. He was a good singer. He had a strong voice. He had a voice that was similar to Tom Jones. Very powerful, clear voice. Good singer.
Yeah, and he was with him, for a couple of years? Were you with him the whole time that he was with the Mag Men?
No, he wasn't. He came in the Mag Men just towards the tail end of all the original guys.
Okay. Yeah, I never even knew he sang with him until I ran into him a while back. Yeah, I sang with the Mag Men. Of course, me being such a big fan, he explained it to me. And he also sent me a nice letter that I'll include in the newsletter down the road. I'm waiting for a picture. He said he had a picture of them with a group, but I'd like to see one of those. I don't know whether there's much of it out there. Do you have one?
No, I don't have one with his picture on it, but I'd love to have one.
Yeah.
And if you come up with a phone number on him, let me know, because I'd love to call him just to blow his mind, just to, you know, Guess who?
He would love that. Trust me. And I will send you an email because I do have his phone number, and I will send it to you. There's a guy named Dave Zhang, who I talked with maybe through you about 3 or 4 years ago when we first started talking. That was working on a movie of the Mag Men. And
the Magnificent Men documentary.
Yeah, and it was just so sad.
That documentary is now being changed as far as they're not going to be able to put it out on DVD as initially planned.
Right.
They're going to be putting it out, though, in the near future on podcast.
Oh, good.
Okay, and what had occurred was some years back, the writing and the publishing rights and the whole musical thing changed. And what was initially going to cost them X amount of dollars to put out the DVD jumped to a heck of a lot more money as to do the same thing just because of some of the music that we had in it.
Just the rights to the music. Yeah.
So what he did is because Dave's an incredible guy. I mean, he really did an unbelievable job on that.
The trailer's terrific.
He covered it A to Z. But now they're going to be putting it out in the near future. I just talked to Dave the other day on podcast. So
good. Keep me posted on that, and I'll let people know in the newsletter because it's a great story. It's a very interesting story, and if people want to see the trailer, you can still go online. And there's about a 6-minute trailer that was promoting the movie that's available. It's on YouTube.
Right. That is correct. Yeah, I just put out something just yesterday. We back on January 30th, the Magnificent Men were inducted into the Central Pennsylvania Music Hall of Fame.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well, thank you. And what I did is, although that evening I didn't have time to really thank everybody that I wanted to, so what I decided to do is go out, and put something out. It's about 18 minutes. And it's more of a thank you from all of us in the Magnificent Men for being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And our other group, which my wife and I have had for 40 years, Class Act featuring Rita, we were nominated in the Best Ensemble category. Now, we didn't win, but we were nominated. So, one is, it's very flattering to have one, but to be recognized for the other group, that's incredible. And we're still doing great with Class Act featuring Rita. We're the ones who are carrying the tradition of classic R&B over into where we've been carrying it on forever. But what we did in the last couple of years, we developed the Magnificent Men tribute show. And Tom Payne and myself were the only two original Magnificent Men who are still performing. Tom was the sax player that sung all the background vocals with the Mag Men. And he's in Class Act with my wife and I and everybody else. And so what we do now upon request is we'll do the Magnificent Men tribute show, which is about an hour long, and we take the primary songs off of all 4 albums, including the Mercury album.
Nice.
And it's that's been going over very well, and so I'm very happy about that, the response we're getting to it.
Where can we see that? Where are you guys performing? Just in your area?
Well, no, it's upon request. We'll do it. We just did. We did one in the fall. It was a class reunion, and then we did another for a corporate function some years back, and so it's strictly upon request because mostly when we go out, I've never stopped playing Magnificent Men stuff in all the years we've been performing. And when we go out, we always do probably 4 or 5 Mag Men songs because we play 3 sets in a night. But now people are, since this is called on, people are saying, well, we want you to do your 2 of your sets, your regular Class Act classic R&B, because you do all the R&B stuff from the male groups, and with your wife, you do all the R&B stuff from the female groups. But now that you have this entity into your performance, you guys still have that same sound. You still have that same sound as that same style, is what I wanted to say. And you're still all dressed professionally. You dress alike, like you're in a theater. And and the irony of it is, I've had a lot of different lead singers over the years, and they've all performed the Magnificent Men leads well. They've all sung Dave Bupp stuff very well. But 2 years ago, I latched on to a keyboard player of mine who has the same tonal quality as Dave Bupp in his voice and the same type of phrasing. And I was lucky to latch on to him. So now when we do the material, it really, he's not a Dave Bupp, but he sounds very similar to Dave.
Right.
And that's hard to replicate because Dave, to me, always had a very unusual, voice.
Very much
Him
so.
and Buddy both. I mean, they're two great singers and two great songwriters,
Buddy King his job in Misty is the best I've ever heard.
Look at me. I'm as helpless as a kitten up a tree. And I feel like I'm clinging to a cloud. I can't understand. I get misty just holding your hand. Walk my way.
Yeah, that was a great arrangement. The original arrangement of that actually is we borrowed the arrangement of a group called the Vibrations, who initially released Misty with that. It's very similar, but ours a little more hard-hitting. We were always when we were a little more power type of group, but Buddy had an incredible range in his day. And all the musicians in the Magmen were we played so well together. We had a chemistry that was, when we got on stage and counted off the songs, we became one.
It was special. That's why you guys are so revered to this day. Let me get down the list.
And it's and thank goodness it's happened again through Class Act with Rita, because my wife she's covered anything from Aretha Franklin.
She's good. I've heard her. She's good.
I mean, it's just, I can't even describe her contribution, the vocal contribution to the music industry is incredible.
All right, original members: Dave Bupp, Derry Corso, is it? Jim Seville, Tom Hoover, Tom Payne, and Buddy King. What are the original members doing now?
Well, Tom Hoover had passed away, but Tom Hoover left after the first year we were together. And that's when I replaced him with Bill Richter.
Bill Richter, right?
It's Buddy King, Dave Bupp, Tom Payne, Jim Seville, and Bill Richter, Terry Crozier, myself.
What are they doing now? Are they still around? Anybody singing?
Well, Buddy's living in New York, and Dave is still living in New York, and they're all retired from music. Tom Payne, as I said, is performing with us in Class Act. Jim Seville is retired now, and Bill Richter is retired. And last I talked to Billy, he was in Florida visiting his kids. So, and then Terry Crozier, he lives in Sandpoint, Idaho. Because to put this thing together that I put out on our Class Act website about thanking everybody and so forth, what it is, I went to everybody and we got a picture of them, and then I got a paragraph of them thanking the people who inducted us. His name is Brandon Valentine, was the president of the Central Pennsylvania Music Hall of Fame, and thanking him, and then thanking all of the people that followed us over the years in both groups. And so that's kind of how that all went. But I got a picture from everybody, and I did get a nice paragraph of thanks to everybody for being inducted, and also for people that followed us. And then I made several thank yous of my own, simply because we didn't do all that alone. There was a lot of people involved that we worked with over the years.
And what's the website? How can we see that?
You can go in on www.classact, one word, -rita.com.
You got
I'll repeat it.
Yep.
www.classact-rita.com.
I haven't been in a while, but I have seen it. You've done a good job in that website. Let me close by saying that, the Central Pennsylvania Hall of Fame, Buddy and Dave inducted into their high school Hall of Fame, you being nominated for the East Coast Music Hall of Fame. Finally, the Magnificent Men are getting the recognition that you so rightfully deserve. I just wanted to be able to spend some time with you. I'll spend a little bit of time with Dave as well, but congratulations on that. It's so well deserved and long overdue.
Well, thank you. Thank you for remembering us. And, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I haven't talked to you in a little while, but, when you want to do it again sometime, just let me know. I'll be available for you.
You got it. Bob Angelucci, the founder of the Magnificent Men, thank you so very much for your time.
You're very welcome.
People get ready. You don't need no baggage. You just get on board. All you need is faith to hear the Jesus humming. Don't need no ticket. You just thank the that thing right now. Don't you know you got to get that thing right now, yeah. Got it right now. It's alright. Got, yeah. It's alright. Yeah. Hey, come on, y'all. Everybody gotta sing it right now. Ooh, oh, yeah. Yeah. Can you do the funky Broadway? Funky Broadway. Got to get it right now. Yeah. Ooh, it's alright. Got to get it right now.